how do I live in the present, in the moment, when I'm like trying to plan for the future, and I have goals and things that I want to achieve in this life. So
Good question.
yeah. And so anyone want to start?
Well, I mean, so we just recorded episode 10, and we kind of hit on this a little bit, but James and I were talking on the way here about, for me personally, I've found that, as you're walking this path of trying to, like, I guess, fix the part of you that egoically wants something, it's very easy to try to, like, resist the desire for something. It's very easy to fall into a state of, like, I'm not supposed to, like, I guess I'm not going to plan for anything. I'm not going to strive for anything because I don't really even know why I want it, because I think it's just going to validate me or something like that. But I think there's a healthy state that you can exist in. At least this is how I feel right now, that you can attempt to plan for something, and you have to be prepared for that thing to be derailed and moved, but it allows you to kind of begin motion and to not stay in this kind of stagnant place. I mean, you had mentioned intention over goal setting, which I think is that really hit me hard when you said that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so if you put intentions, instead of setting goals or putting such, like, you think set plans, because it's never going to work out quite the way you think it is. So if you just put intentions out there, I mean, all these things are finite anyway, right? They're all going to come and go, and it's what it is. It doesn't matter. So if you just put intentions, it just changes the way you kind of think about it. And
it makes you more adaptable.
It makes you more adaptable. But just because you're setting intentions about what is going to happen in some future now, doesn't mean that isn't part of being present in the moment.
Mm-hmm. You can plan in the present.
Yeah, you can plan in the present. That can be part of your of the moment that you're in.
And I think that an important way to find the balance to do that is to do so with joy, or do so with excitement, rather than do so out of fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When we've all had, if you're in the position where you're excited about this thing that you want to do, it feels like the right thing to do, then use that excitement to plan. And when you feel that feeling creeping in of anxiety, of like, I don't know if I can do this, or maybe I got to hurry up and do this, like, start to question that, the anxiety or the fear that would get you to move, as opposed to, just doing it from the love of doing it.
Where does that anxiety come from? What is the source
right.
of that?
What is the source? Like, what's really, for lack of a better word, motivating me to make these plans, to think about the future? What is that?
Is it excitement or fear? Is it happiness or? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you guys say that a Zen practice for staying in presence is kind of recognizing what is taking you out of it in some type of way?
Yeah, get to know get to know that feeling of when it feels right, and get to know that feeling of when the fear creeps in or the anxiety creeps in, and start to call it on its bluff, because the anxiety itself is coming from some sort of false presumption or false fear.
Yeah.
And when you can identify that when it comes, it's easier to say, okay, I feel it coming, but I'm not going to listen to it.
Right. And that's gaining self-awareness and understanding yourself. So you start to question everything because you want to know more about what's bringing these things up. So if it's happiness, okay, well, you also want to question, well, why am I feeling happy with this? Because you want to try to get that more, so you can understand that more. So I think questioning, like questioning everything is really the start of this. And if you're asking this question, then you're starting to question things, and you're already on the path. So if you ever ask a question to yourself similar to this, or similar to like anything, wondering about life, or what is the meaning of this, or why am I in this job, or why am I doing this thing, you're already starting to question things. Just go deeper into that and explore it more. and start to question like more things.
Yeah, like what do I want out of life? What have I been expecting out of life? Why do I want that? What is my actual motivation for that? Is it for the joy of doing it, or is it because I think that it's going to get me this, this, and that? Why do I want this, this, and that? Like, is this really question everything?
I think a lot of people feel kind of paralyzed by those questions too, though, and like
'Cause there's so much
you
fear
know,
behind
but
it.
it's not. I guess it's not gonna feel good while you're asking.
Well,
them,
it's
you know?
not, it's only gonna feel good if you know the answers, right? I mean, like if you can point to it exactly. Anytime you bring up something that is kind of vulnerable, like these tend to be vulnerable questions that you're asking yourself, and a lot of times we just lie to ourselves and we're not true about it. So like to try to be true to yourself and understand it and face these questions, and I think a lot of people will have resistance and it doesn't feel good because they're not being true to themselves.
Mhm.
But once you kind of just be real with it and face it yourself, then it's like, who cares? Like, I think people listen to some of our first 3 episodes where we talk about ourselves, and people think it's crazy that the stuff that we talked about, or like you're being so vulnerable and open about things. I didn't feel anything about that.
I mean, it felt pretty mild.
Yeah, I mean, me too. So it's like, but some people that stuff would be really difficult to talk to.
Yeah.
But if you can't even talk to yourself about it,
Mhm.
then there's some issues in there. So if you're asking these questions and it's really hard, then maybe you need help to get through the questions,
Yeah.
or maybe you just need to keep looking in yourself. And help can be reading a book, or doing some sort of workshop, or working with a professional, or talking to people who you feel comfortable talking to in a setting. You know, there's many ways to get help in this, but you don't have to. Ultimately, it comes down to you, the individual, but you don't have to do it like completely alone.
Yeah.
And if you don't resonate, I think with the help in some kind of way, like you are going through the process on your own, and you're comfortable with that, but it just doesn't feel good or it hurts. Like, just that's I think that's natural. I think it's natural to move through your paradigms as they shift and be like, why am I making this art? Why am I pursuing this goal?
And you're gonna have different feelings and emotions and sensations and things that come over your body and your mind, and that's okay. That's part of the process. I think that's a good point you made there, John, where like a lot of people don't know if they're doing something right because they feel like they shouldn't be feeling a certain way. Actually, some guy was doing the Wim Hof breathing, and he didn't think he was doing it right because he was getting lightheaded, so he kept stopping. And you're like, no, that's doing it right. And then he starts doing it, and he's like, okay, now I get it. And so I think, like, we all go through these feelings, and there's negative stuff and there's positive stuff, but like that's part of the process. Like, you got to work through the shit.
Yeah. And I guess it just helps to have sort of healthier habits in the meantime to help you deal with them. Like, get outside, just try to, like, if you're having a hard time being present, put yourself in some environments where, like, you feel most present.
I mean, if you want to start basic, like get away from your phone, get away from your computer, smartwatch,
things that distract you
anything.
from yourself.
Yeah, and if you can go outside and just be in nature, like, don't listen to music, don't just go outside.
Just listen. Just listen to whatever's going on. Or watch whatever's happening.
Whatever, or try to watch yourself.
And being able to do this more and more often, it's going to come to tie into the original question. It's going to make any planning you're doing for anything in the future, it's going to turn out better because it's not going to have so many of those twinges and knots and anxieties in them. It's going to come from a much more flowing, comfortable place.
Yeah, that clarity tends to come once you kind of get rid of that stuff that's clouding it, and then you're like, okay, this is what I want to work on.
Clarity moment to moment will seep into your whole life. If you practice moments of clarity, moments of meditation, or moments of not distracting yourself from the present, it will start to permeate the rest of your life, and ultimately overgrow a lot of your worst habits that make you feel bad.